Welcome to Fl'AwesomeBlossom. My name is Kiki, and I am delighted to be your host. Welcome back to my returning buds. Thank you so much for joining me once again for this amazing, awesome Fl'awesome journey. And if you are new to Fl'awesome well, then welcome to this sliver of whimsy that I have carved out from my den. This is a podcast that's basically all about everything, right? We're going to 42 this mofo. We are talking about life, the universe, and everything. And I'm not holding back. We're just going to march forward. So I want to tell you what's been going on a little bit behind the scenes here. I've been a little bit forthcoming that I'm having some mental health challenges and I'm having some perimenopausal challenges. And I'm just going through a little bit of a rough time right now. So I'm trying to do a bunch of different things to improve my life because I'm all about the meliorism, right? I want to improve my life. I want to improve your life by exploring some different things to do when you are kind of stuck in depression or, you're going through some symptoms of perimenopause and you're not looking to do any sort of synthetic hormone replacement. And that's where I'm at. That's my journey. I'm choosing not to add any additional hormones to my diet or to my body. That's just my choice for this. So I'm seeking some alternative avenues to manage some of my symptoms. And, like today, as an example, I went to acupuncture and, I feel great. So far, so good. I'll keep you posted how that's been going. I went a couple of years ago. I had really great success on managing quite a few of the more obnoxious perimenopause symptoms that I was having. And I was good for a while. And now, I'm going back, trying again because I just want to have a better quality of life. So I am exploring acupuncture as an avenue that is helpful for me to manage some of my perimenopausal symptoms like hot flashes, a little bit of weight gain, some stuff like that. And some other like insomnia, the usual suspects, But that's something I'm trying. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that on the podcast and share my journey. But let's get back to food. And I'm going to segue into our left turn at Albuquerque right about now. Do you know that there are verses in the Bible that talk about foods that should or could, and then specifically should not be eaten? And I'm not talking about the apple from the Garden of Eden. We're not talking about that one for today. Okay. That's not the story I'm referring to. There's quite a few in Leviticus and Deuteronomy. There's quite a few statements that the Bible makes about not eating certain foods. And I think a lot of people at the beginning, certainly the Jews, took a lot of that to heart, and they have never wavered on their stance about not eating shellfish and not eating pork. Right? Those are covenants of the Jewish religion that you are meant to be adhering to. My understanding is that Muslims also do not eat pork, but I used to go to a rib night every Wednesday, and with a couple of people in Calgary and, a couple of my Muslim friends, and they would partake in the pork ribs. And I would be sure to say, hey, you're aware that this is pork ribs, right? I don't want you to be misinformed that these are ribs like chicken ribs or something like that. But they made their own decisions, as we all do, for what we consume. The Bible is pretty clear about not eating a pig and not eating shellfish. And these rules made sense for the time that they were written. And I'm going to take the religious aspect out of it. I'm not talking about eating pig or eating shellfish as an affront to God. putting taboos against these particular foods really made a whole lot of sense way back in the way back when maybe people didn't understand what red tide really was. And they didn't have an understanding. There wasn't a way to communicate it widely and appropriately. So, somebody would be collecting shellfish one day, eating it, and it's fine. And then 2 days later, after a big hot spell or whatever, red tide comes in, and the same people are collecting this shellfish, and then they die. And they die because the shellfish is poisoned, and they just don't know it. So if this was kind of happening, every other time someone cooked shellfish, if it was happening frequently enough, pretty soon the elders, people are going to get together and say, you know what? It's just probably a good idea just to say no. Like pig, pork meat can kill you if you do not cook it appropriately. So I think that was happening. People didn't understand that you had to cook pork all the way through. You could not leave it bloody like you would a cow steak, as an example. We are what we consume. As I was contemplating this statement, it occurred to me that it's not just about the food that we eat to fuel our bodies. We are what we consume across the board, on the whole. So what are you putting into your body to fuel this vessel? Whatever you are consuming and able to absorb, then that's what you're feeding it. If your focus for your entertainment is violent activities, like maybe you like to watch horror movies and thrillers and things like that. And I'm not saying that these things are completely terrible, but if your focus is on a lot of negativity, a lot of true crime, a lot of the awful things that humans can do to each other, then you were consuming the ideas of awfulness. And that is something, if your attention's on that, you're consuming that. That's going into your subconscious, and it's going into your actual conscious as well. You're making that choice. And I'm not trying to poo-poo the horror movie genre. Yeah, I just, for me, I don't like to get scared. I'm not a big fan of being scared or psychologically tortured. And I don't enjoy others being psychologically tortured. I don't enjoy watching people suffer. So I don't tend to watch those kinds of movies. But on the flip side, when the PMS is super terrible, do I mind a shoot 'em up movie kind of like a John Wick? No, I don't. I especially like the John Wick movies because he's fighting for love. And my husband and I were recently rewatching them. And the other day we were on one of our regular hiking trails. And on the way back from this particular hiking trail, we stopped at the place where we got married. And it's getting close to our anniversary. And so we stop in, and unbelievably, on a Saturday, at this beautiful hall on a lake, there was no wedding being set up. And so we were able to go into the back where we actually had our wedding underneath this beautiful arbor. Now, just last weekend when we went there, the arbor was not covered in any foliage. The growth has not reached the arbor yet, but there was a section behind that little area, another little nookie area in this beautiful garden setting. And they had 2 huge hanging baskets hanging on either side of this little, gazebo-y thing that was set quite in the back of this garden. So we went there and we played our wedding song. We had a little dance. And then my husband started just, recording me and telling me how much he loves me and our dogs and our life. And it was a beautiful, 30-second little video. And I was telling him how much I loved him too. And we have a little smooch. And then, he stops the video and he casually mentions there's our John Wick video. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It was just kind of funny. I'm like, oh my gosh. So he sent it to me. We each have a copy on our phone. to look at in the event that that we need a real pick-me-up. If you watch the John Wick movies, the very first one starts with him watching a lovely video of his late wife, and it gives him strength. And I think my husband was trying to record something like that, a video like that, so that it would give me strength on some days where maybe I'm feeling a little bit blue, like maybe a little unlovable. A little reminder that I am, in fact, very loved. And I'm so grateful to my husband for speaking my love language and for embracing his own. And, I got to give it to this guy. He's in his 60s, and, he is in touch with his emotional side. And he's certainly in touch with my emotional side, which is very nice, loving, and supportive. All right, that is it for us for today, my blooming blossoms and my darling dahlias, mes petits choux. I am delighted that you are joining me on this journey, and I will see you next time.